Welcome all to the first CyberSocial with VJ session. So I'm not sure if everyone would have seen my LinkedIn update, but as a security headhunter, I speak with so many interesting professionals on, a really wide range of security topics and just general, really interesting conversations. So I thought, why not? We can't meet up, we can't share ideas, we can't network as we used to. Why not have a virtual platform where we can share ideas, add some value, maybe, a bit more thought-provoking stuff, and just general have a bit of fun. So I'm not really going to focus on any specific topics, just whatever we might discuss, whether it's how to land your first grad role or pro bono and charity security projects to just current events, speaking a lot about SolarWinds and WhatsApp over the past few weeks and months. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to my first guest, Dhruv Amin. Dhruv entered the cybersecurity world quite recently and is partway through his graduate scheme. He's a graduate information security engineer. And I get so many questions from soon-to-be grads about how to break into the industry, something Dhruv and I actually speak regularly about as well. So I thought it'd be good to share Dhruv's story, progress, how he's getting on. Dhruv and I actually go way back, 2015, 2016. We've been friends since uni back in Sussex, and we were actually uni housemates as well, but those stories are probably left for something recorded. So Dhruv, you studied mechanical engineering at uni.
Yes.
I remember towards 2018-19, you were looking at graduate roles within that space, within the mechanical engineering space. So when you were doing your master's, I think I was in my first year of cyber recruitment.
Yeah,
remember discussing your options.
Yeah.
Never did I expect you to get into the security space, at all.
Neither did I.
So talk me through how the opportunity came up.
So I applied to Leonardo, as many companies, as probably most students did. Went in for an interview. It was for design integrity engineer department. Within that department is information security, safety managers, engineers, and the EMC, electromagnetic capabilities. And I was rotated through those three departments, and I ended up picking information security. I think that one of the biggest reasons was because I like the customer-facing interactions, and it's a very, very exciting field. You're always on a different project every six or so months. You're always working on multiple projects. I did try safety engineering and EMC, but unfortunately didn't appeal to me as much. So I decided to stay in information, give it a go.
Right. Okay, so I wouldn't say it's completely planned.
No, not at all.
You sort of knew it was coming because it's part of your rotation, and it just happened to be something that you enjoyed the most. I mean, you came from a mechanical engineering background, so I would have thought you would have enjoyed the system side a bit more, but obviously this appeals. So coming from a non-technical background at uni, when I say non-technical, I mean you didn't study the typical computer science or anything like that. How did you pick things up? I imagine the first few months, and even now, it's just been a constant learning curve.
It's a massive learning curve. it's like they're speaking a different language at certain points. When you go into I don't know if it's for every other industry or not, but especially engineering and computer science, the lingo is just, the ICT of the APL, the InfoSec. Oh, did you see the VPN, VPC?
I mean, it sounds like you picked it up now.
Now. I'm meeting today thinking, what was that? What did he just say? I need to Google it. So that kind of stuff is really basically hit it. You're like, oh, damn, I don't know much. And especially because you're in meetings and they're just talking in short form, then it's just like,
Yeah. So was it a lot of sort of after hours, after work, you come home and just Google everything on your notepad, just see what's going on, but also I imagine you got some training as well. You weren't just thrown in the deep end.
No, so I was supervising. I was being supervised by my senior. So I was basically shadowing him for first 6 months with the company, and so I followed him around. who's showing me all the projects that's going on, what the role actually entails, and kind of picked it up there, even though every project is different.
Yeah.
Right? So even now I struggle when there's a new project. I really have to dig deep. I really have to talk to the IPT, the internal, there you go, internal project team. So it just comes out. It's automatic now. The internal project team starts to understand what the technical aspects of the project are before I even think about security.
Yeah.
But you kind of pick that process up when you just stay long enough.
Yeah, because you're not sort of hands-on with the tech. You work very closely with the tech teams.
Yeah,
you do more the sort of the implementation side of things. So you need to have an understanding of the tech, of course, but you're not, hands-on, rolling up your sleeves and getting dirty with it.
No.
Would you say your degree helped you at all in any way?
No. in all honesty, not in terms of technical sense.
Yeah.
In terms of managerial, legal, how to handle myself in situations.
I mean, back in uni, I'd be home at whatever time after 9 hours of lectures in a week, and you'd come home maybe at 10 p.m. on a Friday night. You'd always have labs, computer labs. So I think engineering students just had the strongest work ethic. I mean, you were building a Formula One car for your.
That was fun. Yeah, build a U-turn from then.
I mean, you had a uni experience, but at the same time, you were in labs a lot, and you had that really sort of work ethic. And I guess it's important for now. You're learning a lot on the job, trying to progress. So, other than sort of shadowing and training, have you done any certifications or anything within security to, the formal training per se?
Yeah. So I'm currently learning Python from Udemy. So I started that literally just after lockdown. So I'm still going through that course. In September, last year.
Lockdown part 2.
Basically lockdown part 2, and I was like, I'm bored. I should do something.
Yeah.
I started doing the IBM course on Coursera. So I'm working towards the IBM and security analysis.
Yeah.
That's the one. Analysis certification. So it's like 8 course criteria you do. I'm on the 4th one now. You finish the first 7, and there's a 2-hour exam or something for the 8th module, and then you get the certificate from IBM. So around September time, up until that point, I was still a bit confused as to if I wanted to really stay in information security.
Yeah.
And I finally decided that I do really like this, even though it's quite far from mechanical engineering. I do like it in terms of principle, practical working sense. It's the same methodology that you apply in how you work on things. So I decided to stay, and then I started training my ISO standard, ISO 27001. I recently had the exam for it on the 5th of January, which was an experience because now you can't go to exams in England because lockdowns.
So was that all virtual?
Yep. Basically, what you're seeing right now was my setup. While I was doing an SSL question on the online, and someone basically monitoring me and basically making sure I'm not cheating. But yeah, that's all done. Hopefully, I'll get the results soon, and then
you've been busy.
Yeah,
it's always good to sort of do courses about yourself, but especially you've come in. I wouldn't say you've been chucked in the deep end, but you're really challenging yourself, which I admire, and just trying to grow. I guess doing these certs, which I always see them on LinkedIn anyway.
Yeah.
So before you joined the grad scheme, you didn't really think about cyber, I take it. I mean, as much as I did before I entered recruitment within cyber. So how is it different from when you had imagined? So when you were an outsider, when you were a student, and now when you're really at the heart of it, what are the key differences and just your general perception of cybersecurity, I guess?
How crucial it actually is for a company. Obviously, not doing computer science either, I didn't realize the amount of information data that's literally floating around for every company, and what that risk is of that data being taken by someone, and basically them losing millions of profit if that does occur. And the scale at which information security is at where every company thinks about it. There's consultants everywhere, and the demand of it is continually rising. Even because of lockdown, there's been rises in cyber attacks as well. So the demand for it is just basically escalated even since midway through last year. So the scale of this area is what really surprised me, and how much it's integrated into every management when it comes to
I mean, I agree that just since lockdown, the attacks have, really shot up, especially now I'm here in Dubai, I'm speaking to a lot of people. I guess people just weren't as prepared when, with remote working as they should have been perhaps. But I mean, who saw this coming? But I guess that's what you have to look forward, right?
Exactly, yeah. And that's basically one of the biggest shocks for me. The scale of the industry itself.
So I know you can't talk about project-specific things, but what part of your job, what part of security do you enjoy learning about, talking about, working on?
As I said, every project is different, right? You get a sort of hardware-based project, which is we're producing the system. We want to use it in different areas, and we need to think about security. We don't want anyone to steal it. One, we don't want anyone to hack into it. We don't want any accidental incidents either.
Yeah.
But how do we manage that? How do we continue to monitor or put policies in place to avoid that from occurring? Sounds simple, but when in practice, when you look at it, there's risk assessments, risk treatments, and then continual improvement of those systems as well. And then you have to think about if there's something new feature being added to the system, that risk might change completely. Right. So that's what excites me. In terms of you have to think ahead of what that future of that system is. And the variety from hardware to cloud-based system as well.
Yeah.
We have service as software as service now becoming more and more available, and cloud infrastructure growing massively. AWS, it's everywhere, and it's amazing that we have the technology and we have the security in place to the level where I didn't imagine it was even possible.
Yeah,
that it's so prepared, and going forward, it's going to stay that way, right? That cloud is pretty much everything's added.
Not just cyber, but overall tech is just ever evolving. I mean, I'm talking with most people about application security and DevSecOps, and integrating automation into the pipeline. And even last year I wasn't talking about this at all. It was really I didn't know much about it, to be honest. What do you think is up and coming? What do you see yourself working with perhaps in a year, 2 years, 5 years down the line?
Machine learning or AI, really.
Yeah.
And far in the future, quantum computing. I'm sure that's going to make things harder for security, because it comes with benefits and negatives. The attackers have the advantage as well as you do, right? So I think that's going to be a big game changer. And I know industries like basically ISO have already started looking at these opportunities and producing standards and stuff for security on that, as well as everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning things every day, new things coming out, new techs, and I'm sure you are as well. I mean, speaking to so many different people, you hear so many different ideas and thoughts, and it's always, life's just a constant learning curve, and it's crazy. The amount of new technologies, new ideas coming out is incredible. Exciting times. So I know you sort of came from I wouldn't say a bit of an unconventional background in security. But a graduate in computer science, or someone who's studying cybersecurity or doing an apprenticeship, which is great, or whatever it might be, what advice would you give to them if they're looking to break into the field now?
Obviously, as you said, I think come to the interview, I did that mindset. So it's hard to tell, but I think you have the technical knowledge. You know what security is. I'm sure you've been taught, like universities have modules on this. So you have the technical background. I think you should focus more in terms of understanding how it's integrated into the management systems. Why it's so important for customers to protect their data and assets. What are the consequences? One big thing is risk assessments is massive. I've realized since joining companies, like they're everywhere. So try understanding what those are, understanding the difference between risk, vulnerability, threats. And it sounds simple, right? But it makes a major difference when you actually do come into it. And it made a difference for me because I didn't really have a clear picture of that before I came. And understanding your standards, I think that's quite general for whichever department of engineering you're in. Know your standards. Yeah. And I think that's probably the best advice I can give.
Good.
Right now.
I mean, I'm actually going to be running a session in a few weeks with a CISO to sort of say, talk about his experience hiring grads, what he looks for, and just sort of open it to the floor and do a Q&A session, not just grads, but anyone looking to break into cybersecurity. And that really
that'll be really good.
I know you've had a long day. I know it's like 8 p.m. there. It's just past midnight here. So
get some sleep.
Get some sleep. Look, thanks so much for taking the time to.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
I mean, I'll probably speak to you over the weekend anyway. About the football or something. But yeah, thanks for being the first guest. Next guest we're going to have is a CISO in London. We're going to be discussing a sort of pro bono / charity project that we're discussing, planning we want to give back to our communities, which should be fun. But yeah, thanks so much for your time, Dhruv. It's been really good speaking with you, and I'll
thank you for having me.